Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sherlockian interview. Today, we are talking to Arthur Hall. Arthur, good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
I can tell it's morning because this is one of the rare interviews that I'm doing with somebody else who's in the UK. So we're on the same time zone. But whereabouts in the UK are you dialing in from?
I live in Dulwich, which is in the West Midlands. It's not far from Stratford-on-Avon, where Shakespeare was born.
Fantastic. And for those outside the UK watching this, that's kind of in the middle to bottom of the UK, yeah?
That's right. It's not far from our second city, Birmingham.
Fantastic. So let's dive straight into your Sherlockian writing and your first book in the rediscovered cases of Sherlock Holmes, The Demon of the Dusk. Fantastic reviews and very well received. What was the inspiration around this book?
I think, let me say, it occurred to me that a most frightening thing would be an enemy which had a sort of pleasant face, such as a clown or a jester. And I couldn't think of an instance where Sherlock Holmes had faced anything like that. So I thought I'd just try and put something together. It seemed to follow that a sort of old house would be necessary to enhance the atmosphere, if you like. And it just grew from that. I just started to write. I didn't really plan that story to a degree like I do now. I just started writing it, and it just came out, as it were. Before I first wrote a Sherlock Holmes story, which was a short story before this book, I researched Conan Doyle's stories for weeks because, for one thing, I wasn't certain that I was capable of it. And for another, I wanted to sort of get the sense of the way he expressed himself, which, of course, Victorian ways of doing this is quite different from ours, just as their morals, if you like, or view on life was different from ours. And I wanted to sound as authentic as I could.
I think that's one of the things that rolls in through your series of books, Arthur, is that a lot of other pastiche writers refer to your Victorian voice as being really very strong. Books 2 and 3, how did this evolve in terms of your writing?
Well, the 100% Society was, I read an article somewhere about some crazy club for rich people, and really it was a cover for drugs and all sorts of nefarious activities. And I thought to myself, what if Sherlock Holmes faced something like that? I have heard that there were all sorts of clubs in Victorian times for which, because as you know, they were had a very strict morality in those days. But these clubs were supposed to sort of exist in secret despite this. And I thought, what if Sherlock Holmes was to face something like this? How would he go about tackling any crime that might result from it? And that's the inspiration grew from that, really.
And in The Secret Assassin, I know you have outside of your Sherlockian writing, you have a secret agent series that you write too. Was there a bit of an influence of that in The Secret Assassin?
A little bit. I often think that a good many people. You remember the villain in that, if you remember, he was a respectable man in South Devon, but in fact he was a blackguard and a crook up to his eyes. And I tried to sort of make the villain like that, whereas a lot of people down there on his home territory in Devon thought he was respectable. Holmes, of course, could see through this and identify what the man really was. And the story really deals with the fact that he wouldn't give up until it captured him and made him and brought him to justice.
And we go on to books 4 and 5. Book 5 came out just earlier this year. So, but tell us a little bit about these two.
The Phantom Killer, yes. To tell you the honest truth, I do not remember writing much of that. Much of writing that at all, because a lot of things have happened to me since then in my private life, and I can't recall an awful lot about that, about writing that. In fact, I think on reflection, I think the description I've just given to you would probably belongs to The Phantom Killer rather than the book before. The last book, The Pursuit of the Dead, that I thought of several stories of Holmes which I could put down, but I wanted to write a novel. So I thought, what if I could put these stories together with a common link? Would it turn out to be a readable novel? And this is the result of it.
Fantastic. And you mentioned there that you've done an awful lot of Sherlockian writing that's been more in the Strand sort of style of short stories. And
I've attempted this, yes.
Yeah, and we'll be touching on that in just a moment. One of the things I wanted to share with you and discuss a little bit was a few years ago we started to launch the Sherlock Holmes stories onto audio. Audio started to become quite a popular genre.
So I believe, yeah.
Format, and this is an illustration of that. So, Demon of the Dusk has been by far our best-selling audiobook, almost month in, month out. It's always in the top three. Again, in June this year, it's in the top three selling audiobooks, and there with 29 ratings on Audible. I think people love the format of audio, and when you're lucky enough to get a really, really good narrator, it can make a huge impact on the way people adopt the story. And I know you work very closely with Nick Crosby on this series, and
that is true.
And he's done an incredible job. And looking at our audio sales this month, the Rediscovered series is holding 3 of the top 5 slots in terms of best-selling audiobooks. What was the feeling when you first heard Nick reading your words?
It was a very odd feeling, and of course one that I'd never had before. And it was, in a way, a further sign that I've been successful in this, because I had a lot of discouragement when I started. I didn't have much encouragement, but I had a lot of discouragement. People say to you, "Oh, you can't do this sort of thing," and which again is why I studied Conan Doyle's methods and the way he expressed himself so much. But yes, this was like a further sign that things were going in the right direction, and people were receiving this and approving of it.
Fantastic. And a further endorsement of the series was the picking up from Italy's largest publisher, Mondadori, for their Igalo Mondadori Sherlock series, Demon of the Dusk. So that must have been quite special, getting the copy of the book in your hand.
It was indeed. I thought to myself, I'm now an international author. What an accolade, eh?
Fantastic, and I've got my copy here. So just to prove that we feel it's rather special too. The Italian copy. There you go. The Italian copies are very proud on our shelf. So coming back to the short stories, this is what you've done for Bellinger Books in the States.
Oh, that one, yes, I did one for that. And in fact, I had an email yesterday asking me to do another one.
Fantastic, yeah.
Which I'll get around to possibly.
Yeah, so Derek and Brian run Bellinger Books, and another fantastic outlet for writers, but based in the USA. But we were looking at this earlier before we came online. I think, if I'm not wrong, you're the most published Sherlock Holmes author in the MX Book of New Sherlock Holmes Stories, which of course is the largest Sherlock Holmes stories collection in the world. And if I count it right, you're in actually 9 of the 15 volumes with a story, Arthur.
Yeah, I am. I never thought of myself like that. I am surprised to hear it, I must admit. But I can say that, I'm 75 years old now, but as long as I function properly, I will continue to try as best I can to add to this. Fantastic.
So, yeah, and again, I've got my copy of the volume 15 here. So the size of the volumes are pretty large. The series is coming up to 5 years old. It's 15 volumes now, with 150 authors taking part, over 7,000 pages now. I was emailing with David this morning about volume 16, which is coming out in the autumn. So it's still going strong. So hopefully we can add some more
There is actually, I have submitted a story already for that. A little while ago, I had an email from the Indian Society, Indian Sherlock Holmes Society, asked me if I'd send a story, which I did. But this wasn't by any means exclusive, so I've also sent it to the next volume of MX.
That's fantastic.
I shall probably send another one as well, because only this morning I had the basis of an idea. If I can develop it, then I'll send another one as well.
That's fantastic. And yeah, we know Jay very well at the Indian Society, and she's met up with us multiple times in our events.
I've never met her, but I've spoken to her online. She's a very nice girl, yeah.
Fantastic. So it's been wonderful chatting to you this morning, Arthur. Very much look forward to more of your work. We talked a little bit about releasing some short story collections for you, maybe in the autumn time. For the fans that are watching, you can pick up Arthur's rediscovered cases of Sherlock Holmes through all the major onlines, through SherlockHolmesBooks.com, and of course through Amazon. So it's been fantastic talking to you, Arthur, and look forward to lots more Sherlock Holmes stories.
I've enjoyed talking to you very much, Steve. Thank you very much.